If I could change one thing about modern people, it would be to make them okay and accepting with being wrong, to be wrong gracefully, to be totally okay with saying I was wrong. You know, you go on the internet and people are fighting each other endlessly, bots fighting bots, and what's the point? Do we really even care anymore of about getting at what is right and wrong, what is true, what is real? Do we even care about that shit anymore? It seems to me that it's just kind of a cycle of getting locked into validation. I think that's really what's going on here. People are looking for validation. And you know what? Validation acquired online is fucking ephemeral and gay. And these people just don't know themselves. They don't know their the world. They don't know reality. But they feel a sense of security from the fucking validation, right? And that really speaks to how insecure that we are now. It's like a constant struggle and search for finding something to validate us, something to so that we can stick to, because nobody knows who they are, nobody knows what life is or reality is. We don't even know what family is anymore. It's just like a nonstop stream of looking for comfort and security in our identity because we don't have any. And I'll tell you what, that type of security that comes from, that's only grounded in validation, it's incredibly slippery, you know? And maybe that's why that people fight so hard to maintain it, because they don't want it to slip, because they're going to lose their goddamn minds. So snap yourself out of that. And if you're looking for some actual security and knowledge of who you are, I recommend starting to practice being okay with being wrong. Now, there's different types of ways that you can be wrong. You can be ethically wrong. That's probably the most important one. You can be intellectually wrong. That's also super important, and the two kind of play off one another. You can be emotionally wrong. You might have motivations that lead to wrong ethical decisions, wrong actions that were based on an emotional reaction that was based off of the wrong intellectual understanding of a person, place, or a thing. You know, it's funny, but a lot of the times, truth and peace and happiness, knowledge, doesn't come by adding on new things to yourself, but by stripping away what is wrong, by purifying your mind. Because what is right, what is true, what is real is damn near always impossible to put into words. You know, in Tibetan Buddhism, the reality is like, it's like a living stream. It's called the wisdom kaya, the wisdom body. It's a transcendental experience. It's gnosis, it's rigpa, it's something that transcends intellectual yes and no. So the best way to get at that is not by adding new knowledge or anything like that to yourself. It's by stripping away what you know is wrong, and you kind of gradually get a better idea of the truth. You know, one of the ways that we can kind of do this is to work on being ethically right. Nature kind of has this system built into human organizations and social structures that when we hurt somebody, you know, somebody's telling us something we didn't mean to, or whether we did mean to, someone's demonstrating to us that something is wrong. And oftentimes, if we actually are open to being wrong and examine, okay, what were my motivations leading into this encounter? What were the ideas going on in my head? What was it that I saw about them? A lot of the times, you if you really look at it, it's just a thin layer of rationale underneath this big, monstrous, unconscious motivation, which is wrong. In Tibetan Buddhism, we would say that those motivations often are the 5 poisons: anger, desire, pride, jealousy, all on ignorance of avidya. All of these poisons, I mean, that's a good bellwether right there. If you're going off into any of these poisons, they're all rooted in avidya, ignorance. I mean, in for me, and you can use this as well, in the Dharma, it's a very, very easy formula. If your motivations are coming out of subject-object, if they're coming out of duality, if they're coming out of ego, self, and other, 9 times out of 10, the thing that emerges out of that is going to be wrong. I mean, 100% of the time, it's wrong. And that's because there is no ego. As soon as you analyze it, it reveals itself to be vapor. Not that there's nothing there, not in a nihilistic sense. It's not what the Dharma is teaching, but rather that the ego is a magical illusion. It can't exist. It exists dependently, you know? As soon as my identity is here, and I think that I'm this independent entity, it's not there. Just analyze it even slightly, and it dissolves. You know, this sense of self, I greatly inherited from my parents. So where is this independent entity if I'm being penetrated by all of these ideas of voices in my head and experiences and knowledge I've got from others? You know, that's the greatest truth of the Dharma, is dependence. Dependent origination, pratitya samuppada. And that dependent origination means that our ego is empty. It's not our own. We don't own it. You know, it's like this waveform which is riding on all these interpenetrated, beautiful tapestry of our being, which is filled with, you know, the nature of everything and everyone. It's empty. That's what emptiness means, by the way. So when we kind of collapse that waveform, you know, like quantum physics, collapse it into this is me and this is you, that's where the friction starts. And it's okay. That's how that we express ourselves. That's how that we manifest. But the Dharma is about kind of slowly withdrawing that avidya, that ignorance, and seeing the wisdom of dependent origination, and seeing how that ego, you know, false ego, that ahamkara, that false ego consciousness causes us to be covered in these motivations of pride and jealousy and anger where they don't need to be. Now, don't get me wrong, please, because there is divine pride, divine wrath, divine desire, absolutely. But that's neither here nor there. We're not talking about that. So that's really the enemy, is this stuck, frozen crystallization of I am this thing, ahamkara. That's how to say false ego in Sanskrit. Now, if you feel this friction that comes out of the poisons from anger, pride, jealousy, you feel this friction, first of all, stop yourself and become aware that that's coming out of this false dualism. And as soon as you do that, as soon as you analyze it, it stops possessing you. And you'll feel this spaciousness in your psyche, and you gain this wisdom, this experiential, intuitive understanding that those things are wrong. And bit by bit, you build up confidence in a good personality, of a good self. And let me tell you, after having gone through this process for almost 15 years now, you feel a lot more confident in yourself. It takes a lot less work just to be yourself and know that you have fine-tuned your sense of self so acutely that your moral judgments that come out of this new, better self are more often than not always right. And for the little things that go wrong after that, the little friction, then it's just a matter of fine-tuning and becoming even more subtle and even more great.